evening, everyone. Myself, Yashaswini, from R-25 batch. So I'm an intern at CyberSapiens. So now my topic is subdomain takeover vulnerability. I'm going to explain about this. So this is the index. So the index contains what is DNS and how it works, and what is domain and the subdomain, what is subdomain takeover vulnerability, and how to find it, and tools and impact of it, and the mitigations. So basically, before going to subdomain, let us know what is domain name system and how it works. So a domain name system is a naming database where it is a fundamental technology which is used on the internet for translating human readable domain names into IP address. I mean IP internet protocol address that that computers use to identify each other on the internet. So for example, so when we search an Amazon on the web browser, we must get a response from it, right? So something we have to get from the web browser. So basically, it works on the domain name system. So for every website, there will be a IP address. So we cannot access everything through IP address. So what does DNS do means it converts human readable words to access the websites, like when we need information about that website. So basically, this is the hierarchical structure of the DNS. So DNS works on the key functions and the components. So this DNS works on domain names, IP address, and DNS resolver, and DNS servers, and like TLD, and root name servers, and authority name servers. Let us know what is domain names. So as I told, domain name is a user friendly, so which is converts alphabetics to the humans to get access for the websites and on the internet services. IP addresses are these are like numbers which will be in a 4 bits that computers and servers use to locate from one another to on the internet. So basically, what is DNS resolver in the DNS working system? So this DNS resolver is responsible for initiating handling the queries. Like when a user types a domain name into a web browser, the DNS resolver on the computer or an network, the queries what the DNS servers do is it finds the corresponding IP addresses. So it basically it initiates the IP address to the web browser to the client. So in DNS servers are distributed throughout the internet, and which maintains the databases on domain names to IP address mappings. So it maps it. Basically, it maps. There are different types of DNS services, which includes root name servers, authoritative servers, and root servers. So in this hierarchy, DNS is organized in a hierarchical tree-like structure. Atop of the hierarchy are the root name servers, so which store information about top level domains. About this I'll explain in the next domain system, domain in the domain topic, like yeah. And DNS are responsible for individual domain names. And what is DNS record is, so DNS records are a DNS database that provides various type of informations. Like we have how many DNS records we have, like CNAMEs, and MX for the mail, and TXT for the text records, and so on. And DNS resolutions are the process of converting a domain name into an IP address is known as DNS resolutions. Yeah, now the topic is domain and subdomain. As we know, a domain refers to a unique address used to identify a specific location on the www. It is often associated with websites and email addresses. Yeah, example is www.example.com is a domain for a website, and example.com is a domain for email address associated with that website. There are two categories of in domain. Those are second level domain and top level domain. So what is second level domain is, this is also an unique and unique part of the domain name that is chosen by the domain owner. For example, now Amazon.com is Amazon is the second level domain. The .com is the top level domain. I can give another example. Now, www.google.com. So, Google is the second level domain, and the .com is the top level domain. And subdomains. So, subdomain is a part of larger domain within the domain name systems. It is used to organize and navigate websites and other resources on the internet. So subdomains are created by adding a prefix to an existing domain name and typically separated by a dot. They allow for better organization and management of content on website. So basically, subdomains can be used for various purposes, like including creating separate websites and posting specific services, like blog.example.com, and which particulars about that content within an for the particular organization. Yeah, so in the structure you will know what an website contains. HTTP is a protocol, we know we have certifications for that, and www is the subdomain, and the hostinger.com, this is the main domain of an organization. So this is the www is the subdomain of it, and the path, this is the path which an user wants to know about the content. So this redirects to the content page. Yeah, basically, so subdomain takeover vulnerability. So is a security vulnerability that occurs when an attacker gains control over a subdomain of a website or an web applications. This typically happens when the subdomain is no longer in use or has been misconfigured, leaving it vulnerable to exploitations. And the attacker can then set up a malicious websites or content. What an attacker needs depends on an attacker what is intentional. He can use the subdomain takeover vulnerability to do it. It aspects for the, it leads to the various security risks. So basically, subdomain takeover vulnerability works when an CNAME CNAME record is there. Yeah, using a CNAME record for a subdomain means that the subdomain will inherit the DNS settings, including IP addresses and probably other records from the domain it points to. So typically this happens when the subdomain has a CNAME in the sense canonical names. As I told, the records, the DNS records have different names like A address, text forms, and canonical names, and so on. So a canonical name record is a type of resource record in the domain name system, so which maps from one domain to another. So this can prove convenient when running multiple services on a single IP address in the domain system, but no host is providing content for it. So in this example, in this image, it shows how I'll be explaining how subdomain takeover works. So there is an organization called example.org. So this example.org organization will do is, he wants to tie up with the the third party services. So for tying up, he create a subdomain. That subdomain is example.org.tiptopapp.com. So he creates an CNAME with this domain, with this tie-up domain with tiptop.example.org. So after several months or several weeks, and when an organization don't want any tie-up with a TipTop company, he'll remove the subdomain thing, but he'll forget to disconnect this CNAME. unlink this CNAME, like tiptop.example.org. So what an attacker will do is, by all the reconnaissance and whatever the possibilities he wants, he'll just go through it and check that the subdomain is not that. He will try to take over that subdomain by using this CNAME. So this is how subdomain takeover works. And to find out the subdomain takeover vulnerability, there is a combination of information gathering, that is not reconnaissance, and scanning and testing. And testing, we use several tools, and there are tools like for the information gathering we have Subfinder, Sublister, and NocPy. And for the scanning vulnerable subdomains, we have Subz, Subjack, and Sub404. And for the validation of subdomain, we have the tools like dig, ns lookup, and so on. The steps to be followed when when we are finding a subdomain vulnerability, takeover vulnerability. The first step should be followed is subdomain enumeration. So there are the subdomain enumeration tools like Sublisters. There are like so many online tools as well. So it gathers it lists the subdomain associated with the target domain. So, and DNS record investigation. For each identified subdomain, the query DNS records to determine which services or hosting platforms are associated with it. Like, as I told, the reconning is first preference to be given whenever we are going to find out or exploit. So by doing this, we have to find out what are how the a domain or subdomain is created. Like subdomain is created by using, which includes an A form or CNAME or MX or text. And checking for the misconfigurations. So the common misconfigurations in subdomain takeover vulnerability is CNAME records pointing to non-existent or unclaimed subdomains. And the fourth step is subdomain service validation. Attempt to access the identified subdomains to verify if they are still in use or they have collapsed, or a host is removed the subdomain. So we have to check, we have to validate before exploiting. So after all these four things, we have to create a proof of concept, like try to create a POC by adding DNS records for the subdomain on our own, or DNS provides, or by attempting to claim the subdomain on a third-party hosting platforms. So if you can successfully do that, please if there is a possibility to take over the subdomain, so make a proof that you can do it. After that, report the vulnerability, how you did it, and make the report. And the last is, I clear the vulnerability responsibly. You should be always ethical to it. No ethical, unethical, or any suspicious things to be done. Only just exploiting, and just keep the everything and just report it. And lastly, documentation and tools. Yeah. So coming to the impact part, we know that because of subdomain takeover vulnerability, there is a chances of data exposures. So attackers can expose many data which are in the which may affect the organization as well, and there will be a leakage of credentials, which must not be done. And there is a chances for phishing attack, and for the malware distributions. And mitigations, avoid using CNAMEs, as the subdomain is totally depends on the CNAME, which is CNAME is linked to the subdomain. So avoid doing that. So that domain name will be subdomain will be safe without any vulnerability. Yeah, and use the tools for the search for the scanning. So the constantly scanning the subdomains will help in the securing the website. So it should be keep up to date with the security patches for the domain for the websites, and keeping with the regular security test, including pen testing and vulnerability assessments to identify and remediate subdomain takeover vulnerabilities, and set up monitoring and alerting system to detect unusual DNS charges or unauthorized modifications promptly. So now I'll be showing the practical part of it. And these are the references which I have been taken. Meanwhile, I'll tell you that how to install the tools. So we can take the links from the GitHub and install it on the Kali, like for Subfinder and Sub 404. And I have used the tools Subfinder and Sub 404 and Dig for everything for the exploitation. Yeah, I have used I have already installed Subsea and Sub 404. And to find the subdomains of a target domain, we use Subfinder. First, we should go to the super user. So we are in super user now. So to find out the subdomain of domain, we use the Subfinder tool. And the D stands for domain name. So the target domain name which you want to find out. So I'm going to take this website, hcbitsy.com .in, sorry. And -O stands for the output file, which will be saved. So you can name this file. And enter. So it will list the subdomains in the particular targets. Target, that is hcbitsy.in. Yeah. And the second tool is Sub 404. I'm using this to find out the vulnerable subdomain. As this Sub 404 is based on Python programming language, we use the command Python 3 Sub 404 py, and again F stands for the file name which we have saved previously in the Subfinder. So you can take the path. So this will list the vulnerable subdomains. Yeah. Now it shows the vulnerable subdomains. So as this website don't have any vulnerable subdomains, and if there is one more thing we can try it for the try, we can directly take the domain name. The command is the D, which stands for the domain. So I'll directly put the domain here. We can try both the ways by using direct domain or by fetching the path name. This is taking longer time. After this, we will get a few subdomains. It lists out which is vulnerable and which is not vulnerable. Further, we can do the validation using the dig tool. And for the exploitation, we can use Shopify. Yeah. So here it's not vulnerable, but though I take this website for further, the subdomain for further. I use the dig command for the validation. So this is the validation output we got, and further we can use this subdomain for the so we can use this for exploitation. So this is a third party services which can be used for to create the to exploit the subdomain. So first need to create the ID. So you can skip everything here. So I previously created the ID. Yeah. Now go to the option add custom domain. Add the domain or connect to existing domain. the which we got from the validation. Though it is not vulnerable, just for the showing sake, I have taken this. Verify connection. Yeah. So if this is vulnerable, it shows the domain connection is complete. And whenever a person wants information from the domain, it fetches to this to this subdomain for the content. So thank you.